The fall of New York City. Good morning, Kuhner country. Okay, my friends, we are now living in very momentous times. And I don't just mean what's been happening overseas, the 12-day war, Iran, Israel, and Trump's historic decision to annihilate Iran's nuclear facilities. Here at home, domestically, President Trump yesterday went to Truth Social and said one of the most important elections in American history was decided on Tuesday night up in New York. And Trump said, I'm not exaggerating for effect. This is a watershed election because this now shows the direction of New York, the direction of the Democratic Party, and in many ways, the potential direction of America itself. And so when Trump says an election for mayor of New York is a watershed and maybe one of the most consequential elections of our lifetime, people should and need to pay attention. And so what happened up in New York? A Muslim communist, and I'm choosing my words now very carefully. The media keeps describing this man as a socialist. He's not a socialist. He's more radical than a socialist, if it's possible. He is, in fact, a Marxist, a communist, a Shiite Muslim. His name is Zoran Mamdani, endorsed by Alexandria Fidel Castro Cortez, by Bernie Sanders, by Ilhan Omar, by the far, far, far left wing of the Democratic Party, pulled off not just a stunning upset, but it was an easy victory. He won the Democratic nomination to be their nominee for mayor of New York in November. And he destroyed former Governor Andrew Cuomo. It wasn't even close. And so what you're seeing now in New York is not just the rise of socialism, the rise of the radical hard left. But if you look, in fact, at what Zoran Mamdani now, his platform, what he now says, what he ran on, what he says he wants to do to New York, his biography, his, the people that are backing him. My friends, Trump is not 100. He's 1,000% correct. And so, who is Zoran Mamdani? He is an immigrant to this country, born in Uganda. Mother is she's Indian. In fact, they come from movie royalty. She, in fact, is a very big player in Hollywood. His mom is. He was raised in the lap of luxury. She is a Muslim, his mother. He is a Shiite Muslim. He is a militant Shia Muslim. Iran is their holy land. That is the cradle of Shia Islam. Now, much is being made of Mamdani's socialism, his Marxism, his communism. And they're right. They should be concerned. To show you how far left this man is, what an economic lunatic this man is, how he could have won this election is beyond me, but we're going to get to this soon. This shows how radicalized, how polarized, how extreme the Democratic Party has now become. Make no mistake about it. Mamdani's victory shows now it is AOC's party, it is Bernie's party, it is Ilhan Omar's party, it is Rashida Tlaib's party, it is now the party of the hard Marxist left. Mamdani ran on a platform, and he vows, should he win, he will implement it to a T, to soak the rich. His words, not mine. He wants to dramatically raise taxes already on overtaxed businesses and overtaxed individuals, especially on the higher end. He wants to soak and drive out the wealthy and push them out of New York. But it's not just that he wants to take class warfare, that he wants to take from the rich and redistribute their wealth and go after businesses. No, 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 no. He wants to defund the police. Literally, defund the New York Police Department. He is calling now for abolishing prisons. He wants to open up the jails and let criminals go out free. He says that the prison system is a form of fascist oppression that keeps brown, black, and poor New Yorkers down. He also now says he wants, quote unquote, free universal child care in New York City, i.e. taxpayer funded. He wants free public transportation, i.e. taxpayer funded. You don't have to pay a penny to ride the bus. The bus, you just go into the bus. That's it. The citizens have to pay through much higher taxes for free bus fare for anybody. He has now vowed that he will stop every single ICE raid or attempt to deport illegal aliens. He will block them. He will prevent them. He says New York City will be a safe haven for all illegal aliens, including criminal illegal aliens. And it goes on and on. I'm not kidding. Should Bibi Netanyahu, he is not just a man of the left, but a man of the anti-Semitic left. Mandani now says that should Bibi Netanyahu step 1 inch on the soil of New York City, the jurisdiction of the Big Apple, Bibi will be arrested as a war criminal. One of his proposals that to me is so outlandish, so dangerous, that he would even think of proposing this and that they would vote for this in New York. Honestly, I'm almost speechless. He is calling now for city-owned, literally government-owned, government-run, government-controlled grocery stores. Grocery stores. This is what they used to have. I'm not kidding. Literally, what they used to have in the Soviet Union. In the Soviet Union, they used to have government-run grocery stores. You know what you get? Empty shelves, bread lines, food lines. That's what you get when you have the government taking over food and the sale and distribution of food. But it goes on. It just goes on and on and on. Mandani now vows in a speech just days before his election yesterday to a very rabid crowd of Muslim supporters that he will make New York City City Hall a Muslim city hall. According to him, he refuses to condemn the Holocaust. He has been asked multiple times, do you condemn the Holocaust? He refuses to do so. He is an unabashed supporter of Hamas. He is an unabashed supporter of Sharia law. This is a man who now said repeatedly that his goal as the mayor of New York is to, quote unquote, globalize the intifada. Intifada, as I pointed out last night on X, is the term for a violent Islamic uprising. It is what the Palestinians called when they started to launch suicide bombings and killing innocent Jews on buses or in cafes or restaurants or in grocery stores. They would come in, Allahu Akbar, Allah, Allah, and then blow themselves up and kill innocent Jewish civilians. October 7th was considered the mother of all intifadas among the Palestinians. So what this man is really calling for is suicide bombers and October 7th style attacks in New York City. Many of his Muslim supporters in downtown Manhattan, after his victory Tuesday night, now say that New York City will fall under Sharia law within 10 years. That the population of New York is being transformed in front of our eyes. As Stephen Miller, President Trump's top senior advisor, said, New York now in the election of Mandani shows what happens when you have unlimited illegal foreign migration. New York City has been demographically transformed. And that this man is now on the verge of becoming mayor in the most Jewish city in America, or at least what was the most Jewish city in America, is absolutely stunning, shocking, and should be a massive wake-up call for the entire country. London has had a Muslim mayor for 10 years. London now is finished. Paris is being overrun by a Muslim intifada and a Muslim takeover. Mandani now says he will do to New York what the Muslims have done to London, Paris, and Berlin. This, my friends, is big trouble. 618 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, huge election up in New York City, or down in New York City, from Boston's point of view. Anyway, it was a very, very important watershed election. And the Democrats now picked a far-left, socialist, anti-American, anti-Semite Jew-hater. There's no doubt about it. Zohran Mamdani, only 33 years old. He is a state assemblyman. And out of nowhere, he has now skyrocketed to the top of the heap. He did it on the back of a big glowing endorsement from AOC, from Bernie Sanders. Ilhan Omar is absolutely jubilant. This is now the beginning of the end, not just of the Democratic Party, but of New York City itself. Winning the Democrat primary pretty much guarantees you re-election. It is going to be very difficult now to stop Mamdani in November. Cuomo has left the door open to running as an independent since he got destroyed by Mamdani in the primary. It looks like he will not run. If he does run, Eric Adams, the current mayor, is running as an independent. It will split the anti-Mamdani vote. And so people are urging Cuomo not to run, to stay out of it. There is also a gentleman by the name of Curtis Sliwa. He is the Republican nominee. He ran last time against Adams, did not do well. He's a very nice man, but politically, he doesn't really resonate or connect with most New Yorkers. So you're looking at a deeply unpopular mayor who has to run as an independent, plagued by corruption scandals, who opened his city up to Biden's illegal invasion, and a Republican nominee who is a nice guy, but is not really popular or well-liked by most New Yorkers. Mamdani now has the path to be the next mayor of New York. And what is shocking about all of this, and everybody's commenting on it, right, left, center, it really doesn't matter, is how easily Mamdani won. Part of it is he's well-spoken. He's got a certain amount of charisma. He's personable. He's excellent on social media. But the real reason why he is now being propelled to be the next mayor of New York and to be a force in national Democrat politics, and there's no denying it, is that the far left wing of the Democratic Party, the base, is now in full control. And to show you how much New York has been transformed just in the last 5-6 years, never mind over the last 20 to 25 years. As I speak to you now, the foreign-born population of New York City, which, by the way, is the largest city in America. It's not just the financial hub of America. Wall Street is in New York City. The biggest financial firms are in New York City. The biggest banks are in New York City. The biggest law firms are in New York City. It's sort of, New York is to America and in many cases to the world what London is to Britain and to the European Union. It is the financial heartland, the financial stronghold. And so you look at New York, 40% of its population is now foreign born. I don't mean the children of immigrants, the children of, parents or grandparents who immigrated, literally born in another country. Most of them, or many of them, having poured in illegally. Well, they're voting. Illegals are voting in New York. There's no question now. And so many have commented that there are so many now foreigners, people not born in America, who have come to New York. Many of them have not assimilated. Many of them come from the third world. Frankly, many of them from the Muslim world, whether it be from the Middle East, whether it be from North Africa, whether it be from Pakistan, take your pick. And these are the people, many of them, who turned out big for Mandani. New York City is now becoming more and more like London, like Paris, like Berlin. In other words, it is no longer a Western city. It is no longer, in this case, an American city. It is now increasingly a third world city, and it is voting for third world politics. Now, furthermore, and this is also now a real sign of what is to come for the Democratic Party and for a lot of these blue states and a lot of these blue cities. If you look at the breakdown of the vote, Cuomo won in traditional Democrat areas with people without a college degree. In other words, blue-collar workers. He won among blue-collar workers. But that didn't matter. Mandani won with more college-educated voters, young voters, 20s, early 30s, the Gen Zers. And so what's now happening is that you had a lot of young white voters, a lot of college-educated voters, many of whom brainwashed in the very Marxism, the very anti-Semitism, the very anti-Americanism that Mandani now is spewing, peddling, and selling. And that is now his core base of support. Now, let me make one final point, and then I want to go to the phone lines, 617-266-6868. I want you to stand back for a second. If I told you several weeks after the horrendous 9/11 Islamic terrorist attacks, just 24 years ago, when everybody was saying, we will never forget, that was the slogan, that in less than 25 years, a radical Muslim communist who supports globalize the Intifada, a flaming Jew-hating anti-Semite, pro-Hamas, pro-Sharia law, who wants to turn City Hall into a bastion of Islam, would become the next mayor, or eventually would become the mayor of New York. You would say you're crazy. You'd say, Jeff, you're on drugs, man. They've now gone from we will never forget to globalize the Intifada. That's how far New York has fallen. 634 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, great text great message on Messenger, forgive me, from Larry. Jeff, it only took 24 years to go from Muslims taking down the Twin Towers to now taking over New York City, which is the ultimate goal of Islam, to conquer cities in the West. And if New York City refuses to save itself, no one can save it. So yes, across the country, we said never forget after 9/11. But almost immediately, radical leftists went above and beyond to protect Islam and Muslims from so-called Muslim hatred. Well, look, there's no question now. Just look at London. That's what New York City is going to be in about 5 to 10 years. They have a mayor there called Sadiq Khan, same thing, like Mandani, a Muslim socialist, a militant Muslim socialist, in many ways, like Mandani, a Muslim Marxist. And London is overrun with crime. Money is fleeing that city. The middle class has been wiped out. Financial institutions are leaving in droves. Large chunks of New York are now, of London are no-go zones. It looks like it's part of the Middle East. And there are images now, if you don't believe me, they've been building mosques everywhere. And literally they are praying. You see Muslims with the call to prayer during a workday on the sidewalk, on the streets in downtown London, blocking traffic, which is something you never saw even 20 years ago. So that's how quickly an entire city can be utterly transformed. And it's happening in Paris. It's happening in Berlin. It's happening in Rome. It's happening across Western Europe. It's happening in Toronto, in Montreal, up in Canada. I've seen it personally. So they want to do here what they've managed to succeed to do in Canada and Europe. And make no mistake about it, Zoran Mamdani is their Trojan horse. And to give him his due, to give the devil his due, he is very open and naked about all of his goals, aims, and objectives. Everything that I listed to you about his platform is right there on his website. Or he said it in debates with Cuomo, or he's on the record, in interviews with the New York Times or the New York Daily News. He is an acolyte of AOC. He is an acolyte of Bernie Sanders. He is an acolyte of Ilhan Omar. And that's why Trump went on Truth Social and said, you don't understand. This is not just some race for the mayor of New York. New York will never recover from this. If he wins, you will see the downfall of New York City. But more than that, this will represent the takeover of the Democratic Party completely. Not just by the radical anti-American left, but by the anti-Semitic, pro-Hamas, pro-Islam left. That's what's really happening. Now, listen to Mamdani. I want to go to the phone lines, 617-266-6868. This is Zoran Mamdani speaking. Now, remember, they have ranked choice voting up in New York City. I think it's a horrible system. Okay, but let that go. The point of ranked choice voting is it's supposed to take time before you get a winner. You vote for the one you want to win, then you vote for who you think is second best, and then third best, and and then eventually you whittle it down. He won so easily, so decisively. He won on election night. I mean, that's the thing. He didn't just win. He won big. Listen now to Mamdani after his election victory for the Democratic mayoral primary. And notice how he talks. He talks like a communist. Communists, everything is fascism, anti-fascism. They're the anti-fascists. Their enemies are fascists. So listen how he portrays Trump and listen to what he says his campaign, his vision, his platform is as a model for the National Democratic Party. Roll cut 18, a mic.
We have won because New Yorkers have stood up for a city they can afford. A city where they can do more than just struggle. One where those who toil in the night can enjoy the fruits of their labor in the day. Where hard work is repaid with a stable life. Where 8 hours on the factory floor or behind the wheel of a cab is enough to pay the mortgage. It is enough to keep the lights on. It is enough to send your kid to school. Where rent-stabilized apartments are actually stabilized. Where buses are fast and free. Where childcare doesn't cost more than CUNY. And where public safety keeps us truly safe. And it's where the mayor will use their power to reject Donald Trump's fascism, to stop mass ICE agents from deporting our neighbors, and to govern our city as a model for the Democratic Party.
As a model for the Democratic Party. Stop Trump's fascism. Now, this is the con. At the heart of his economic program, it's not just he's going to really soak the rich and hammer businesses with taxes, massive tax increases, but it's a $30 an hour minimum wage. $30 an hour. He wants to impose a rent control freeze across the entire city. So these people are thinking, well, he's going to drive rent low. He's going to give us $30 an hour each. They have no idea that you have a $30 an hour minimum wage. You know what that's going to happen? Mass unemployment. Most businesses cannot afford to pay their workers $30 an hour. So what are they going to do? They're just not going to hire, or they're going to fire. You have these kind of massive, insane rent control policies of a complete rent freeze. What do you think is going to happen? You think landlords are going to want to they're going to say, no, why should we? And by the way, and then you can't evict people. That's the other thing he's pushing for. Limits on eviction. So Mandani says basically you can't ever raise the rent, ever, and you can't evict anyone even if they don't pay you your rent. Well, what do you think is going to happen? Already, thousands and thousands of apartment units are now no longer being put up for rent. It's going to lead to the greatest housing crisis in the history of New York City. Now, final point, and then I want to go to the phone lines, okay? I promise. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis made a joke in his response to Mamdani's rise and his victory on Tuesday. He said, I should have paid for his campaign. He goes, because I'm telling you, my phone is ringing off the hook. Wall Street is leaving New York. They want to relocate to Palm Beach. Banks want to relocate to Palm Beach. Financial firms, law firms, New Yorkers of all kinds, especially those who have a little bit of money, they're fleeing to Florida. Others are talking Dallas, Texas. Jewish organizations are telling Jews, evacuate, get out of New York City before Mandani wins in November. Ay, ay, ay. 650 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, New York now on the brink. The Democratic Party on the brink. And in many ways, blue states, blue cities around the country are now on the brink in the wake now of the stunning, spectacular victory. And I mean spectacular in terms of the ease, the effectiveness, just how impressive his victory was in terms of wiping out the Democratic opposition. The rise of Zoran Mamdani. 617-266-6868. Okay, our Western PA constitutionalist correspondent, Dave, said, Jeff, please, I've got a great nickname for him. Let's start using it. Moron Mamdani. Yeah, Dave, I agree with you. But what does that say about all the people who voted for him? Who the hell votes for this snake oil salesman? That's what I want to know. Paul in Rhode Island. You're going to kick us off, Paul. Thanks for holding and welcome.
Yes, Jeff. I don't like the idea of, I love all kind of people, but I don't like extreme people, especially when it comes to that stupid mayoral candidate from New York City. Stupid. Why did these people vote for this? I'm hoping for a miracle in the next 6 months that Mandani, or whoever his name is, doesn't show up in the polls, and a miracle takes place and he doesn't win.
Well, Paul, look, I can just tell you this. He's being bankrolled by Pakistan. He is being bankrolled by big donors from the Middle East. For them, this is the citadel. They're conquering the citadel. And I don't mean this as an insult to, say, I don't know, Milwaukee or Cleveland or Nashville or Houston. These are obviously, great American cities. We're talking New York. We're talking New York City. New York City is like a city-state. It's a symbol of American financial wealth, of American financial power. It is where the Statue of Liberty is. It is the largest city in America. Whatever you think about it. And honestly, I'm not a big fan of New York. I've been there many times. I don't care for it. Doesn't do anything for me. I like a lot of the people in New York. Please don't get me wrong. But it's, to me, too many people, too congested, to each their own, I'm not saying there aren't very impressive aspects to New York. There are. But facts are facts. New York really is a world-class city in terms of its ability to attract capital, investment, talent, people, culture. Any movie festival you can imagine is in New York. The theater, Broadway, is in New York. Any concert, any band that worth his or her salt goes to New York, obviously. What I'm saying is that New York is a city of such social, cultural, financial preeminence. It's like London. It's like Paris. It's like Berlin. It's like Moscow. It's like Tokyo. It's like Toronto in Canada. It's an engine. It's not just a city. It's an engine. For it to fall to a radical Islamist in less than 25 years after the radical Islamic 9/11 terrorist attacks would be an incredible victory for Islam. He knows it, his supporters know it, and the Muslim world knows it. And look, he has stunned the Democratic establishment. He went through them like a hot knife through butter. And I'm telling you right now, Cuomo can't stop him. I don't think Adams can stop him. Sliwa, very nice man. I like him. He's not going to stop him in New York. And I think what's happening, Paul, is you have the rise of the Bernie AOC wing of the party, which is now clearly in the ascendancy. So you have these white, college-educated, AOC, Bernie, far leftists. And by the way, all of them in their 20s and early 30s. So basically white, college-educated white liberals. Along now with these third world migrants, many of them Muslims, who Biden allowed to pour into our country. And they went to a lot of sanctuary cities, but the big one was New York. And they've got the numbers now. And Mandani is their guy. And so that's why he's openly saying this is a model now for the Democratic Party in Boston, in LA, in Atlanta, in Chicago. I mean, they pretty much have a Mamdani. Brandon Johnson is Mamdani without the radical Islam. But he's just as crazy on every other policy. And he's destroying Chicago. So this is a model now for California, for Massachusetts, for Rhode Island, where you're from, for you name it, for Illinois, for all of the blue states. And you watch 2028. I believe Mandani now sets up AOC in 2028. Either she's going to knock off Chuck Schumer and just finish him and beat him in a primary, or I'm telling you she's going to be the Democratic nominee. And let me just say one last thing, and I want to give you the final word, Paul. This is now my background. Okay? This is where I'm coming from. Let me tell you the one thing that scared me the most about everything that Kamala Harris, her platform, her plank, what she was running on. And I remember I mentioned it several times on the show, and it just didn't seem to catch fire. And I understand why, because it's so foreign to the American mentality, to the American history, to the American experience. So it's almost like it's so abstract, you can't just imagine it. So it was other things about her that really bothered Kuhner country and the listeners. But let me tell you what bothered me the most is when Kamala Harris said that one of her key objectives, should she win, was to quote unquote collectivize agriculture. To have the government literally seize agriculture from private farmers and collectivize agriculture. This is what communists do in every communist revolution. When I saw that as part of her economic program, and that's now that we know it came from Anita Dunn, who's a Maoist, literally a Maoist. She's part of the quote-unquote Politburo that was running the Biden administration. And that's what Mao did in China. It led to mass famine. I'm talking tens of millions of people dead. Stalin did it to the Ukrainians. Millions dead. I can show you communist country. That's what they did to my grandfather in Croatia, former Yugoslavia, after the war. They seized the farms, and it led to food shortages. It was an effing disaster. When I saw that, I saw red. I said, this woman is a complete lunatic. There's one thing you don't play with, and that's a country's food supply. That she was willing to do that showed to me she was a hostage of the most radical Marxist elements in our country. I go back now to Mandani. You're going to push for state-owned, city-run grocery stores? After the experience that the world has had with state-owned grocery stores? Americans have no idea. When the state takes over your food supply, takes over your grocery stores, that's like Eastern Europe, man. You know what it is to go when the shelves are bare? You know what it is to go to wait 2-3 hours in line? And you're lucky if you get some garbage piece of meat or some stale bread or a little bit of milk, sour milk or whatever. That this guy is proposing city-owned grocery stores? Paul, he's crazy. He's a loco. This is Bolshevism. This is hardcore communism. I'm looking at this and I'm saying, how does this guy even become elected assemblyman with ideas like this? The mayor of New York City? The symbol, the cradle of capitalism in the United States? The cradle of Wall Street? The symbol of American financial might? And this guy is pushing government-run, city-run grocery stores. And nobody can stop him? New York is finished. Donald Trump is completely right. He's sounding the alarm bell. If I can read you his Truth Social posts. He goes, no. He goes, listen, this is not just some crazy left-winger. He says, you don't understand. You put a guy like him with his crazy ideas. New York is finished. It will be destroyed, never to come back again. This is suicide. What we're watching now is the political, economic, cultural suicide of one of the greatest cities in the world. Not in America, in the world. Okay? I mean, I don't know what else to say. I'm looking at this and I'm like, you've learned nothing from history? The 20th century taught you nothing? The Cold War taught you nothing? Would it kill this guy to read a history book? AOC and Bernie, it's now their party. And Mandani is now their man. If they can take New York, as Trump said, the country is screwed. They can take anything. Paul, final word to you.
I hope I believe in miracles, but we're in a big mess, and illegal immigration is a major part of it, to buy votes so that they can get the majority and cheat us out of our fundamental constitutional rights. I'm praying that this doesn't happen in November, because if it does, we are all in trouble within the next 10 years. I can promise you that.
Oh, Boston's going to be next. Where you are, Providence, your neck of the woods, is going to be next. You're going to watch. It's going to be Blue City. They're going to fall like dominoes. Mark my words. Paul, thank you very, very much for that call. 617-266-6868 is the number. Look, this is my position. You can agree, disagree. I think now Curtis Sliwa and Eric Adams have to get together. Cuomo as well. Decide on one candidate. One, just one. Don't split the anti-Mamdani vote. So I don't know how you do this, but you need to have you need a united front now against a guy like him. One candidate, only one candidate, and run that person against Mamdani. That's the only chance I see of stopping this man. But anyway, that's me. 617-266-6868. Tim in Andover. Thanks for holding, Tim, and welcome.
Hi, good morning, Jeff.
Hi,
and
Tim.
I couldn't agree with, your sentiments more, but I think we got to take a step back and we got to look at how did he rise? And I think part of it is he's a younger generation candidate. I really think that's a huge thing in the sense that, young kids today, different than when I got out of college 30 years ago, they don't see a path to home ownership because the costs are so high, the interest rates are high. They don't see a path to getting rid of their student loans because most of them are buried $100,000 in debt. Most of them, if you don't see a path to a house, you don't see a path to a family of having children. You look at the politician and you say, they've dumped $34 trillion worth of debt and counting on top of that, year-over-year deficits. That it's just going to make everything harder and harder for them to obtain. So you get a slick-talking younger person in there speaking about affordable housing, affordable food, and other things. It's no wonder, after being brainwashed, some of them start to listen to it. It's sad. It's insanity. But some of them are going to listen to that message. When you mentioned Ron DeSantis, his phone's ringing off the hook. That's wonderful, but there's the old saying of, this is stuff that happens when good men and good women do nothing, right? The leaders of New York City, business, finance, and all of the other things, they're not speaking out against this guy. They're almost encouraging, their silence is encouragement that someone like him actually can win. Where's Jamie Dimon? Where's all the other big voices that are saying, hey, this is catastrophe for the world's biggest, world's largest, most important city? And I guess the last thing, Jeff, I'll kind of finish on, all the things that Trump has on his agenda. There isn't one thing that would be more important for the long term of this country than if he put term limits front and center, starting today until the last day of his presidency. He should talk about the need for term limits, whether it's 8 years, whether it's 12 years, because the deficits, everything else is being driven by these people who've been there for 20, 30 years. They don't even listen to their constituencies anymore because they don't have to. They get their money from someone else. So I think it's a number of factors that have all led to this. And the Democrats throwing an old-timer like Cuomo, and Cuomo's father was there before him, just exacerbated it. I think another Democrat would have done far better than Cuomo.
Tim, excellent points. Really excellent. across the board. Excellent. And I agree with you, not 100, 1,000% on term limits. I think that's a big part of the problem of the corruption. You're right. I mean, you're going to be there forever, and you know you're going to be there forever because you have a machine that keeps reelecting you over and over again. So you don't even really care what your constituents say or do, and you just keep pocketing that money. Just keep taking that money. And I don't know if you saw the report, Tim. This was maybe a couple days ago. The average member of Congress gains $1.6 million a year in wealth. Remember, they're only making $174,000 a year. So being in Congress is so lucrative that the average member of Congress, 1.6 mil, then another year, another 1.6 mil, and then another year, 1.6 mil. I mean, it's basically a license to steal. That's what being in Congress now means. And when you have that kind of corruption, this is the kind of, people that tend to rise. Demagogues with very easy solutions to problems. Rent, you don't have to pay rent. Food, free. Bus, free. Childcare, free. So he's running on free childcare, really, literally, free bus fare. He's running on the groceries. You know what he's saying? That in grocery stores, he's taking out the profit motive. So so they're going to buy buildings, convert them into grocery stores. And he says, we're going to take food, sell food, but, let's say, I don't know, Oreo cookies. Well, how much did it cost? What was it at cost for a box of Oreo cookies? I don't know, $2, $2.50, whatever it is. Well, you're not selling it for $4. You're going to sell it for $2.50. Okay, genius. Do you think they're going to continue to give you Oreo cookies if they're not going to make a penny? So, but this is what he's talking about. And these idiots are like, free food or whatever, low-cost food. Yeah. A rent freeze. Yeah. He's going to make $30 an hour minimum wage. Yeah. And, of course, the illegals love it. A, he's going to kick ICE out of New York. B, by the way, he's open about it, which is illegal, but he's open about it. He says, no, free welfare for the illegals. Illegals are going to get Section 8. Illegals are going to get free health care. Illegals are going to get welfare. They're going to get food stamps, everything. The illegals love this guy. Free child care. They got it. They can ride the bus and the subway, back and forth. No charge. So the illegals look at this and they say, we're going to vote for this guy by hook or by crook. Jamie Dimon's already looking to leave. Tim, I'm telling you, that's the answer of Wall Street. They're looking out. They're getting out. They're getting out of Dodge while they still can. Tim, thank you very much for that call. 617-266-6868. Angelo in Rockland. Thanks for holding, Angelo, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. Yeah, that's a crazy chain of events over there, but it's funny how we bailed out Israel from the nuclear threat. I think it's time that the government steps in. Instead of putting in grocery stores for the immigrants or whoever, we seem to have the food covered pretty good. We don't need that. What we need is to get these radical people looked into and probably deported or detained because they are actually stirring up a somewhat of a civil war in our own cities and takeovers. That's more of a threat than Iran was to us. I think that's more of a threat. I would go after these people that are starting to incite the infidada and all these things. Those are war words, and that's against us. We have true patriots defending us overseas and in our land. Now the patriots of America have to stand up and do it with a pen. Vote these people out. Be a patriot. You don't have to hold a gun. Hold a pen and do the right thing. These people, they want to take over London. What a sin. If I was London, I'd go in there with the tanks and take over those cities. I mean, it sounds terrible, but the way of life that we live is the American way. And if they're really that dead set against it, Go into the new part of the desert where we made it nice and level in Iran and start over there. You have a nice level ground to start off on. It's terrible. What you say, Jeff?
Well, look, Angelo, you're right. We now have an Islamic fifth column in the United States. And that's why I keep urging again and again. And again, I supported Israel bombing Iran. You know that. I never want the mullahs to get the bomb, the nuclear bomb. It'd be a disaster. But man, we got to focus at home. We got to focus at home now. We got serious problems. I know we got Trump in the White House, but this stuff. Look, I'm gonna very quickly tell you what I think the ultimate meaning is. Your call's next. 719 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, let me just make two very, very quick points in response to the previous call. Look, you talk to Mandani supporters, and I'm talking now about his Muslim supporters in New York, and they're very reachable. First of all, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them. New York has changed, especially under Biden. New York has really changed the last 4 or 5 years. Everybody's talking about it in New York. Very, very noticeable. Anyway, so many Muslims were allowed to come in under Biden. They came in from Africa. They came in from the Middle East, Pakistan. Anyway, he's getting a lot of support in the Muslim community. And they are literally setting up booths in downtown Manhattan where they openly say that Sharia law, like in London, like in large parts of London, large parts of Paris, that Sharia law is coming to New York City. And when you press them and say, well, what is the meaning of this Mandani revolution, this Mandani mayoral candidacy and his, they believe, inevitable victory in November, they say it's part of Islam's larger plan. They're open about it. There's no mystery here. They believe that in the end, the world must be ruled by Islam. What they want is world Muslim rule and the world to fall under a caliphate, a global caliphate, and under Sharia law. Essentially a world Muslim empire. And so for them to conquer, and that's what this is for them, to conquer New York City by having not just a cultural Muslim or whatever, someone who is, yes, he's a Muslim faith, but someone who's, moderate, it's not core, central to their identity. But to have someone as militant as Mandani, as pro-Hamas, as openly anti-Semitic, as openly pro-Sharia law, who talks about globalizing the Intifada, to have someone as extreme and militant as Mandani, that is the conquest of New York. And the Muslims were jubilant. I mean, you should see them. I mean, there's videos of this where it's several days before the primary victory. He said, I'm telling you, one of the things I will do come hell or high water, City Hall will be a Muslim City Hall with all of the, the trappings of Islam, and you take your shoes off when you come in. There's going to be prayer rugs looking in the direction of Mecca. He said that, you will be very comfortable in City Hall, and we begin slowly but surely the process of Sharia. So this man is not hiding what his intentions are. Now, to show you how crazy he is, he believes in completely defunding the police. He doesn't, he's going to dismantle the New York Police Department and release the prisons. He says that prison itself is a form of occupation, of oppression, of control, of, quote, black, brown, and poor New Yorkers. So crime is going to explode. But that's what he wants. That's what Sadiq Khan did in London. That's what they do in Rotterdam which is another major city that has a Muslim mayor. And they almost follow the exact same playbook. Now, let me just make one other very, very quick point, because it's clear it's happening here. It's happened now across Western capitals, European countries, Canada, Montreal, Toronto. It's now happening in New York. Okay, this is it. In every Western society where Muslims come, there's a certain percentage. If it's just 2-3%, they tend to lay low. And then all they push for is, quote, tolerance. In other words, leave us alone. But when they hit about 5 to 10%, that's when they become much more militant. That's when they begin to really start to assert themselves. And when they hit that critical 20-25% threshold, that's when they begin to demand Sharia law. Because now they're so confident that they cannot be removed, they can't be deported, they can't be expelled, they can't be pushed out, that then they feel now by just sheer intimidation and just sheer willpower and sheer constant relentless social cultural pressure. And remember, they use the freedom and tolerance of the West against the West. They feel then eventually, and because they know they have a higher demographic rate. They have 5, 6, 7, 8 children per families. Most Western countries have maybe one child, if you're lucky. Some have 0. Some 2, 3, but for the most part, the average birth rate is just above one child per family. So they realize once we get to 20-25%, no one can stop us because the demographic bomb has been lit. Now, this brings me to Mandani in New York. He's now militant. His supporters are now militant because they've made the strategic calculation that they have hit whatever it is, 5-10% of the population in the United States, where now they can really start to assert themselves. And that's the meaning of the Mandani victory and the Mandani moment and the Mandani revolution. And that's why Trump is going to Truth Social. And he said this man is not just a communist lunatic, but he represents in many ways a much more serious, fundamental threat to the United States of America and our future. Because Trump can see the Muslim problem in Europe has now arrived here. Austin's Bulldozer 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, many of you are texting the Kuhner Man, 70470, 70470. The emails are pouring in to me. Many of you are asking, well, Jeff, could the Democrats run Mandani eventually for president? No. And this is, again, what's so shocking about his rise. And to show you how militant and brazen this guy is. He was born in Uganda. So he wasn't born in the United States. He was born in Uganda. His mother is from India, but she's an Indian Muslim. There's a minority of Muslims in India. They tend to be actually quite militant. And so then and the Indian government has a problem with them, but that's another issue. She's also of Hollywood royalty. She has made a ton of money in the film industry. So Ramdani is personally wealthy. He grew up in the lap of luxury. I mean, you want to talk about being born with the silver spoon in his mouth. He literally has only been working. He's a 33-year-old man. He's only been working for the last couple of years. You know, as a state, if you can call it work. He's a state assemblyman for the last couple of years. Basically, this guy's not held a job for most of his life. And his mother, has taken care of him, and he lives off his family's fortune. Now, he was naturalized as an American citizen. Listen to this. In 2018. That's only 7 years ago. And this guy, who was born in Uganda, whose mother is from India, he's a Shia Muslim, a very devout, very militant Shia Muslim. This guy, 7 years ago, was only made a citizen 7 years ago, and he's already telling us how we should run New York City, how he'll arrest Benjamin Netanyahu if he comes to New York, how ICE has no right to deport criminal illegal aliens, how he's going to revolutionize New York and run capitalism, as he put it, right out of New York City, and fundamentally transform America. I mean, honestly, it's disgusting. It's like Ilhan Omar. It's exactly like Ilhan Omar. So they're not playing around. They are not playing around. Ilhan Omar herself said she was never happier than watching Mandani win the race for Democrat mayor, or the primary on Tuesday. Saying that as a Muslim in America, she said, now this is the high point. This is now the high watermark. So that tells you everything you need to know. The guy's been a citizen for 7 years. And already now he wants to tell us how to run our country. Linda in Winthrop. Thanks for holding, Linda, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Linda.
So I remember, I want to give you the good news, the bad news and the good news, Jeff, okay? I remember talking to you maybe about a decade ago or more about Bill Clinton and him, benefiting off this country and getting a lot of benefits for all the shenanigans that him and his wife have been doing. And this continues with the politicians selling out our country for money. The NGOs, letting illegals in here for many years, Jeff. You know, this isn't new that illegals have been collecting welfare. I remember when I was young, they were collecting welfare, Jeff. This didn't just happen overnight. This is us looking the other way, letting them get away with it for many decades. And I specified to you back then, I said, don't these politicians understand that someday they're going to be mayor of the city? Then they're going to be the governor of the city. Then they're going to be the congressperson. Then they're going to be the senator. And they're going to be telling you what to do. No longer will you be in charge. That's the bad news, Jeff, and it's been going on for a very, very long time. And don't tell me that the government in these cities don't know that these people are on Medicare, that they're on all these programs. They know because they've been the perpetrators of it, Jeff. This is how they're making their money, Jeff, okay? Now, the good news is that who is this going to hurt the most? I looked it up, and there's about 1.9 million or something black people in New York. This is going to affect them, okay? So hopefully they will get on the ball to change it, okay, and turn it around. Number two, I think that everybody will get together in New York because they definitely don't want to see this happen. And they'll strike some kind of a deal getting together and overturn this whole thing, hopefully. But
Linda, look, I got to tell you, I hope you're right. Linda, I really do. Look, I think a Mayor Mandani would be a disaster, an unmitigated disaster. It would be the fall of New York. There's no question. The problem is, if you look at the polls, here, just don't take my word for it. Any poll, take your pick of the polls across the board. It's not even close. He's beating Eric Adams by 20, 30, 40 points. Curtis Sliwa, the Republican, barely registers like a blip on the map. So unless something very dramatic, that's what, the consensus is, unless something very dramatic happens between now and November, he's going to be the mayor. The Muslims can sense it now. Victory's within their grasp. And, you mentioned Bill and Hillary Clinton. Look, you want to see how craven and cowardly and demonic the Democrat establishment is? Bill Clinton now openly supports Mandani. Chuck Schumer Forgive me, it's only relevant because of the issue of how this man is an anti-Semite, Mandani. He's a vicious Jew hater. Okay, I mean, it's disgusting. Schumer's Jewish, right? He's a Jewish American. Schumer now has backed Mandani because he's petrified that AOC is going to challenge him in a primary and that progressives are going to back her against him. So you see, the problem now is that the communists have taken over the entire Democratic Party. And like I said, they're not just socialist, Marxist communists. They're Jew-hating, pro-Hamas, anti-Semitic Islamists. That's the key now. It's a Muslim communist. Red is the color of socialism. Green is the color of Islam. Okay? It's a red-green alliance. It's now, there's an alliance between the socialists, the communists, and the Islamists. That's what you're seeing. It's around the world, but you're seeing it now happen in the Democratic Party here in America. And it's coalescing now right around Mandani. So Schumer realizes if I come out against Mandani, AOC is going to challenge me because she's the kingmaker now. She made Mandani. She and Bernie. They went in, they endorsed him, they campaigned for him, and boom. I mean, he took off like rocket fuel. He rocketed right to the top. So what I'm saying is, among the moonbats in New York, and there's an army of them in New York, okay? They love this guy. They love what he stands for. Look, I'll tell you what he is. You know those Columbia University Jew-hating anti-Semite students that are rioting? You know, they're anti-Western, they're anti-American, they're anti-capitalism, they're anti-Israel, they're anti-Semitic, they're pro-Hamas, you know, wearing the keffiyeh and attacking Jewish students and hijacking and taking over buildings. He's them. He's them. He's their professor. What their professors indoctrinated them with, that's him. And that's why they love the guy. On the great WRKO, Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, let me ask all of you, with the stunning victory of Zohran Mamdani in Tuesday's Democratic primary for mayor of New York, are we now watching the possible Islamic takeover of New York City right in front of our eyes? And do you fear that Sharia law now, the unthinkable, will now come to one of the greatest cities in America and one of the greatest cities in the world, New York? 617-266-6868 is the number. And let me throw this log on the fire. Does this now set up Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, okay, or as I like to call her, Alexandria Fidel Castro Cortez? Does this now set her up to now be the Democratic presidential nominee in 2028? Is it now her party, Bernie's party, Ilhan Omar's party, Rashida Tlaib's party? In other words, is the hard left progressive squad now in full control of the Democratic Party? 617-266-6868. And since many of you are asking, let me ask, is Mamdani now a Trojan horse? Is he the nose in the tent? Is he the Trojan horse for Islam and Sharia law to come now to the United States? Tim in South Carolina. Thanks for holding, Tim, and welcome.
Hi again, Jeff. Good morning. I want to talk about infiltration. This is kind of an old story for those who are in the know. This is pre-planned. There have been books written about this. We don't need bombs. We don't need guns. We don't need soldiers. We are going to take over America from within. We are going to the public schools. We're going to the universities. These are cells in this country. They've been doing this for quite a while. He's going to win the election in New York City. This is pretty much a done deal. I think we all know this. You inferred during your opening remarks that this election was illegal, was against the law. Why? Because New York City is a bastion of illegal aliens. Should we solve the problem? In other words, should we be calling on President Trump and his team to launch an investigation into this election? I think a team of ICE agents, maybe accompanied by military. Am I a far-right extremist? I don't know. I think I'm speaking in common sense. There's a problem here that needs to be solved. The American people are kind of we're in a weakened state, if you will. We can't solve this ourselves. I think we need to call on our president, and I think this problem needs to be solved because from everything I'm seeing, and it's been taking place for quite a while, this has been done not lawfully. There are cells all over this country now, and as you have stated, they have New York City now, and they didn't do it lawfully.
Well, Tim, look, I agree with you. I think there needs to be a major investigation into voter fraud, into election corruption. I think there's no question. But let me tell you, maybe the most chilling image I've ever seen in my life, and that was last night. And I've seen some chilling images in my life. But this one, it's a meme that's going around. It's blown up. It's gone viral all over social media. And that is the Statue of Liberty, Lady Liberty, now completely covered in a burqa. And that is the fear that if Mandani wins in November, not today, not tomorrow, I'm not saying it's going to happen overnight, but you look at, you're talking about stealth jihad. Islam has been engaged in stealth jihad. They have targeted Europe. Look what they've done to Sweden. Just look what they've done in Sweden, in Germany, in Austria, in Italy, in France, in Britain, in the Netherlands. I could go on and on and on. Australia, Canada in particular. They're now doing it here in the United States. And if you look at Sharia law, and again, please don't take my word for it. One of the tragedies of the fall of Afghanistan when Biden pulled out, and it wasn't just a debacle for us, and that's ultimately all I care about, but I'm a human being as well, is that it's not just the Taliban is back. Sharia law is back. Under Sharia law in Afghanistan, ever since Biden abandoned Afghanistan, 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old girls, okay, they're 7, 8 years old, have been sold off because people are so poor now. They're desperate to feed their families. They sell their daughters at 6, 7 to older pedophiles, to men who then molest and rape these girls. And it's all okay it's all kosher. Let me mix my metaphors. It's all kosher under Sharia law. It's all fine under Sharia law. And you should see, just look at the videos. I've never seen anything more primitive or barbaric in my life. Women now covered head to toe. Their personality, their identity completely erased in Afghanistan. And how they walk around and they have to be very, very careful in what they say. You can't even talk to another man if you're a woman. You can't even, by the way, you can't even remove your burqa in your own home unless the shutters are down. Because if the window is open or the shutter is up or your blinds are up, and if another man sees you, and you have even though it's inside your own home, and you're not veiled, that's grounds for you being stoned. This is Sharia law. This is what you're seeing in country after country after country. So, do we want this? Now, I have to ask this question, Okay? I have to. Look it up, please, because this is so outrageous. You're going to say, Jeff, come on. Jeff. Come on, man. You got to be exaggerating for dramatic effect. Look it up. Don't take my word for it. Mandani held multiple press conferences. He was asked repeatedly, not once, not twice, multiple times, do you condemn the Holocaust? Now remember, New York, outside of Tel Aviv, has the most Jews of any other city in the world. Okay? It's by far the most Jewish city in America. I'm just stating a fact, an obvious fact. In New York, he refused to condemn the Holocaust. He refuses to condemn the Holocaust. He raps for Hamas. He literally cut a stupid recording spot where he's rapping for Hamas. He refuses to condemn October 7th. The man says we need intifadas against the Jews and against Israel. Now, we're going to have essentially a Holocaust denier? And that's, by the way, that's the mullahs in Tehran. Remember, he's a Shia Muslim. That's the Ayatollahs. That's militant Shiite Islam. The Holocaust not happened. Death to America, death to Israel, death to the Jews. No Holocaust, never happened. It's a lie. So it's a lie, or they want to complete it and finish it. They can't seem to quite get their story straight. This is the kind of an animal you're going to have as as the mayor of New York in the United States of America? And let's be clear, because they keep calling us fascists. Okay, that's it. That's his line all the time. Trump's a fascist. MAGA is a fascist. And by the way, if you're a conservative under this guy, he is going to go hunting. He's going hunting for MAGA and conservatives. So this is being done by the secular left. The hardcore Bernie, AOC, Elizabeth Warren, secular left. They're the ones who are propelling him. Guilt-ridden white liberals are propelling this guy into the mayor's office, into City Hall in New York. You cannot make this up. You can't make it up. Now, Tim, I'm telling you, politically for Donald Trump, this is a gift from the political gods. Trump is going to level this guy. Trump is going to make him the face of the Democratic Party. Trump is going to make AOC and Bernie the face of the National Democratic Party. The Democrats across the country know it. This is going to play well in New York. It's going to play well in Boston. It's going to play well in LA. It's going to play well in Chicago, Madison, Wisconsin. We're all, Cambridge. Yeah, where all the moonbats are. They love this stuff. But in the rest of the country, you know what they're saying? The Democrats have gone fully insane. I don't know how much more radical you can get now. I guess you can go full Lenin. I guess you can go full Stalin. But outside of that, you can't get more extreme than this. Politically, you're going to see now the Democrats be absolutely destroyed at the national level. And the Moonbats don't care. Bill in Sudbury loves this guy. All the the Boston Globe loves this guy. Harvard loves this guy. Columbia loves this guy. The students love him. The professors love him. So the activists, left-wing base, the fanatics, they love this guy. So, and you're going to see now the country split even more. I think it's going to lead to a majority Republican country. I think there's no question now. Look, J.D. Vance will destroy AOC. You put J.D. versus AOC in 2028, it's over. She's not going to win. But the damage that these people can do, you don't give somebody like this guy the mayor of a two-mule town. I'm not kidding. A town of 15 people, you don't let this guy be the mayor. Never mind New York City, the financial capital of the world. I'm telling you, these New Yorkers have lost their minds. They're crazy. They're completely crazy. So, Tim, I agree with you. And let me just say one last thing. I want to give you the last word on this. He's a naturalized American, like me. When you're a naturalized American, if you engage in revolutionary activities, if you engage in terrorist activities, if you start calling for mass political violence or the revolutionary overthrow of the American government, your citizenship can be stripped away. Now, I'm telling you, I was asked specifically at my citizenship meeting, are you or have you ever been a member of the Communist Party, or do you affiliate with or support communism? And I said, are you kidding me? And that's when I told the guy my joke about, my grandparents and my parents, and the only good communist is a dead communist. The guy was laughing. He's a communist. How did he get citizenship? I'm telling you, how did he get citizenship? He's a communist. He's a full-fledged communist. That's number one. Number two, you start calling for the Intifada, as he has. You start defending Hamas, which is a terrorist organization that goes around blowing up and beheading and murdering Jews and calls for the genocidal annihilation of the Jewish people. I'm looking at this and I'm like, maybe Kash Patel and Pam Bondi and Kristi Noem need to look into this guy and say, you know what? Maybe we need to strip him of his citizenship. But there needs to be an investigation, because I'm telling you, the illegals are voting for this guy, and they're voting for him in big numbers. There's now no question. No question. He wins in November. New York has fallen. Tim, final word to you.
Jeff, everything in life is opportunity. This is opportunity now. If President Trump and his team listen to your show, I am speaking to them right now. This is a perfect opportunity. You send a message right now that fraudulent elections are not allowed in this country anymore. That election in New York, if it's accepted, it's already over. There is no more competition. He already won, okay? This is the perfect opportunity for President Trump to step in with his team. I'm speaking to Vice President Vance. I'm speaking to Dan Scavino. Guys, if you're listening to Jeff Kuhner's radio show, this is the perfect opportunity to take care of this problem right now. That was not legal. That needs to be investigated. There needs to be teams of agents descending upon New York City right now, including military if necessary. And no, I don't think that my words are extreme. This needs to happen.
Oh, their words are not extreme.
This cannot.
No, listen to me. You're common sense. I'm telling you, you're very much your mainstream, common sense, normal, red-blooded American. That's what you are. To say, Jeff, I don't want to see New York become London or Rotterdam, or I could go on and on, Paris. I've been to Paris multiple times. Paris is no longer French. Paris is no longer, it's administratively part of France, yes. And administratively, it's part of Western civilization. But you go to France, it's not part of Western civilization. You're in the Middle East. I'm telling you, you're in the Middle East. Most of London now, the London Times, the Daily Telegraph, that's not me, it's them. Their own media says most of London now is part of the Middle East. So many Muslims have now flooded that city under Sadiq Khan, that Muslim mayor. Nobody speaks English. Every language under the sun. Mosques are everywhere. Sharia law is de facto being it's the law in many parts of London. The calls to prayer are so big and so prominent that they are out on the sidewalk of followers, Islamists, Muslims, blocking traffic in the middle of the road in downtown London. So this is just common sense. What you're saying is just, 2 + 2 = 4. So please, Tim, don't be defensive. There's nothing for you to be defensive about. Now, and thank you for that call. Look, I just want to point this out. This is from President Trump, okay? He's the one trying to rally the country. He's saying, no, this is not just, a crazy liberal, they're like the way the media is calling him, an ultra liberal. No. Or a democratic socialist even. No. As Trump said, this is a communist lunatic. This is what he wrote. It has finally happened. The Democrats have crossed the line. Zoran Mandani, a 100% communist lunatic, has just won the Democrat primary and is on his way to becoming mayor. We've had radical lefties before, but this is getting a little ridiculous. This is what he posted on Truth Social. And he says that if Mandani wins and the rise of others like AOC, Jasmine Crockett, Bernie Sanders, he says, quote, the country, America, we are going to be, quote, really screwed. And so he's basically saying, guys, look, this isn't even, this is not even Chuck Schumer. This is not even Bill Clinton. This is hardcore communism, hardcore Marxism. Now, just so that you know, because developments are happening fast, one of the biggest grocery chains in New York City, okay, John Katsimides, I believe is how you pronounce it, but anyway, has now come out with a statement saying we're not going to get our grocery stores nationalized. We're not going to have them taken over by the government and then give away our food at cost and we lose our shirts. That grocery store chain says Mamdani wins, they're pulling out of New York City. That's what happens when you have government-run grocery stores. So you are going to see very quickly, it's going to happen very fast, food shortages, bread lines, long food lines. New Yorkers are going to start to go hungry. You wait till this nut job starts with his $30 an hour minimum wage and free bus fare, free public transportation, free child care, and he starts, raising taxes 60, 70, up to 60, 70, 80, 90%. You watch when businesses flee, when Wall Street flees, when the law firms flee, when the banks flee, it's going to be a complete third world hellhole. And then who's going to pay for all the socialism? New York is about to blow its brains out. Don't do it. The number? Okay, it's the Kuhner Country poll question of the day, sponsored by Mario's. Mario's Quality Roofing, Siding, and Windows. Will New York fall to communism? That's the Kuhner Country poll question of the day. In other words, will Zoran Mamdani win in November? And basically Bolshevik Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez will then have essentially taken over New York through Mamdani, and it'll be a massive victory for the radical left. Will New York fall to communism? A, yes. B, no. I'm hoping B. I'm praying for B. There's still hope for B. I don't think it's too late. I think there is still time. But the country's got to wake up. New York has to wake up. Everybody has to wake up. But again, that's me. I want to hear from you. You can vote on our webpage, WRKO.com/Kuhner, WRKO.com/Kuhner. KUH, N as in national, ER. You can also vote via X, and I was active last night on X. In fact, warning about Mandani on X last night. So you can vote on X. My handle there, all one word, at the Kuhner Report, KUH, N as in national, ER. There is some good news. Front Page Magazine, founded by the late David Horowitz, excellent publication, online site, says if you actually dig into the numbers, yes, Mamdani won impressively, there's no question, but only 5% of New Yorkers voted for him. It was a primary. It was during a heat day, the heat wave, very hot day yesterday. So they're saying, look, yes, he's doing well in the polls, but he's still beatable. It's not over, but the opposition has to get organized. And so, as I said in the previous hour, I think what needs to be done now, two things. One, I think all of the people that are running against Mamdani, Cuomo says he's open to running as an independent. He should not run. Don't split or divide the anti-Mamdani vote. New York Mayor Eric Adams is running as an independent, and Curtis Sliwa, again, very nice man, he is the nominee for the Republican Party. Now, maybe Sliwa and Adams can form a pact and say, whatever, one of them will drop out in exchange for a position in government or something, and just make it a one-on-one race. Whoever would be the strongest possible candidate, have a united front against Mamdani. This way you maximize your chance of not splitting the anti-Mamdani vote and actually keeping this lunatic from power. You also have to expose him. New Yorkers have to know more and more what the consequences of voting for this man will be for them, for their families, and for the city. Listen now. This is New York City Mayor Eric Adams. He was on Fox blasting Mamdani. Roll cut 17, Mike.
He wants to freeze the rent. He wants city-run grocery stores, social workers to replace the police because that's going to help. He wants $60 billion of debt fund for affordable housing. He wants free buses, no cost for childcare, baby baskets for newborn, and a $30 minimum wage. How can someone vote for this?
He's a snake oil salesman. Mm-hmm. He will say and do anything to get elected. Think about this for a moment. He wants to raise 1%. He wants to raise tax on 1% of New Yorkers' high-income earners. As the mayor, you don't have the authority to do that. You know who has the authority to do that? An assemblyman, which he is. He wants to do free buses. He could have done it at assemblyman. He doesn't understand the power of government and how you must making sure you improve your economy, raise the standard of living, and this is what we've done in the city. And I'm looking forward to being on the campaign trail.
Yeah, look, I'll be honest. I'm not a big fan of Adams, as you know that. Now, but believe it or not, there are some things worse than Eric Adams. Mamdani is it. But I'm just saying they're going to have a much stronger message than this. Well, yeah, if he wanted free childcare, he could have voted for it as an assemblyman. If he wanted to raise taxes and really take it to the rich, he should have voted for it as an assemblyman. That's not, that's not a winning message. You're going to have to expose Mamdani, unmask him, hit him, attack him, eviscerate him. And look here, one of the leading grocery chains in Manhattan, the CEO, John Castimittis, has now come out and said, I'm telling you, if Mamdani wins, and this idea of, city-run or government-run grocery stores, we're pulling out completely out of New York City. So good luck. You're not going to have grocery stores, and the city-run grocery stores, you're going to be waiting for in lines for hours. So if you want to wait for hours like in the old Soviet Union to bare shelves, then you vote for this guy. Now, that's what the people of New York City have to realize. You vote for Mamdani, that's what you're getting. So whoever they decide to be the opposition candidate to him, it's got to be one, and everybody should rally around them. Then they have a chance. Okay, Mandani, is he now the future of the Democratic Party? Your calls next. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868 is the number. You know, many of you are making the point, and I would just want to throw it out there to everybody. Okay, you know, is he dangerous? Mandani, no question. Is he basically a younger version of Bernie? Except instead of being Jewish like Bernie, and Journey, by the way, Bernie is very much, very secular, very anti-Israel. I would consider Bernie a self-hating Jew, to be honest. Very pro-Hamas. I could go on and on. But instead of being Jewish, he's a Shia Muslim, and a strident Shia Muslim. But he's really just a younger version of Bernie, or really a male version of AOC. That plays well in blue states, in blue cities. Yes, with the Moonbats, they love this stuff. But in the heartland, in Georgia, in Pennsylvania, in Michigan, in Wisconsin, in Nevada, in Arizona, where you got to win elections, not so much. And so, you know, there's a way to look at this as, hey, are the Democrats in some sense committing political suicide? Hiri-kiri. Because the farther and farther they keep going to the left, the more outside the mainstream, and the more unelectable they become on a national level. Now, locally in New York, for example, if this guy wins, they can do a tremendous amount of damage, no question. But as a viable national force, you're watching now the self-destruction of the Democratic Party right in front of our eyes. I mean, this is the political equivalent of pouring gasoline all over yourself and then just lighting a match. So if they see Mamdani and Bernie and AOC and Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib and Ayanna Pressley, if they see, and the chief, Elizabeth Warren, if they see that as the model, the future of the Democratic Party, what's the matter? The beating you took with Kamala Harris didn't teach you anything? Because I'll tell you this, J.D. Vance would love to run against AOC. Would love to. Or Marco Rubio or whoever the Republicans anoint after Donald Trump. 617-266-6868. Susan in Winchester. Thanks for holding, Susan, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi.
Thank you for taking my call.
My pleasure.
So I jumped in a little bit late, but I just wanted to touch base on what you were talking about this guy in New York, Mandani. I see exactly what you're saying, and you are exactly right. The other thing that you said was how they are infiltrating London and Paris. In Paris, I saw a clip where at the Disney World in Paris, they had a little girl who was getting married to an older guy. It was the Sharia law. They were Islamic. It was a little 9-year-old girl at Disney in Paris. Now, when you see Paris, when you see London, when you see New York, now let's go over to Texas. They want to
Susan, do you have the radio on? Because we're hearing background chatter.
It off. Can you hear me now?
Yes, loud and clear. Please, go ahead.
Okay. So in Texas, they want to build an Epic City. Have you heard of Epic City?
Yes.
Okay. An Epic City is a blueprint of a complete city that only Islamic people can live in. They have every single thing you can imagine. Houses, apartments, churches, buildings, workplaces, parks, schools, and it's all for Islamic people only. This is what they're trying to do. They're trying to take over the country. They're going to start in New York. They're going to go over to Texas. But, of course, Governor Abbott is all over this. He does not want this to be built. And I want to say Plano, Texas, but I could be wrong, but it's outside of Dallas. So this is how far these people are coming. They're going all over the country. This is what they started 9/11. They wanted to take over the United States. Little by little, they're going to do it. And this guy, Eric Adams said one thing that was true, that this guy is a snake oil salesman. He personifies an evil, corrupt, conniving, but very charismatic, good-looking, convincing guy that can just enrapture people. This is what they do. They're con artists. And it's almost, Jeff, like a version of the New World Order. You will own nothing and be happy. Little by little, they take it away from you. So all this $30 an hour, you'll end up with $2 an hour. It's going to end up that people will have nothing, and you will be beholden to this communist government if they don't do something about it. And I have no ties to New York, but I am going to support Curtis Sliwa, and I'm going to support Elise Stefanik for governor, because I think those two could really help out the state. And I want to say one last thing. 5 years ago, I was listening to Dan Bongino on his podcast. I had no idea what he was talking about, but he said, and looked straight into the camera, if you live in New York, you need to get out. Things are going to happen in New York, and you've got to get out and take all your money out there, of the banks there. So that's what he said, and then now as I'm seeing what's going on, this is unbelievable.
Oh, it is. No, really, you're completely right. It's unbelievable. And the writing now is on the wall. And so either we believe the writing and do something, or they're going to take over. And they're, they're, what is it, 4 or 5 months away. Now, if you look at the opinion polls, he's in the lead. And he's not in the lead by just 1 or 2%. He's got a commanding lead. Because essentially in New York politics, New York City politics, because it's such a blue city, and there are so many liberals and so many leftists and so many moonbats, you win the Democrat primary, you essentially win the election. Now, we'll see. He's up against an incumbent this time. It'll be Eric Adams. I like Curtis Sliwa a lot, but honestly, he ran last time, didn't do very well. It's not his fault. It's just, it's like running in Cambridge as a Republican. Good luck. Good luck. So that's why I think in the end, they're going to have to decide on one candidate, but I don't want to repeat myself. Look, Susan, you're absolutely correct. And the stakes now could not be higher. We cannot afford to have New York City fall to Islam, radical Islam. And make no mistake about it, this guy's a radical Islamist. And you mentioned that town, that Muslim city. You're right. They are proposing an all-Muslim city in Texas, anchored in a mosque, a huge mosque, minarets, Muslim schools, apartment buildings, but the whole thing would be Sharia law compliant, and all of it would be based around a Muslim lifestyle. So, for example, you wouldn't be able to buy pork. You wouldn't be able to sell alcohol. In other words, they want to secede, essentially, from Texas and from the United States and just have Muslims rule themselves. And they're trying to do that now increasingly in other cities as well. Minneapolis, which is now known, some parts of it, as Little Somalia, that's Ilhan Omar's territory. Already, their attorney general for the state of Minnesota is Keith Ellison, radical Muslim. Minneapolis now has allowed the Muslim call to prayer in the middle of the night. At 4 in the morning, 4:30 in the morning, daybreak, that's when they do their first call to prayer of the day. And it's loud, it wakes people up, they don't care. There are so many Muslims, Somali Muslims in particular, in Minneapolis, that it's now allowed. So when you go to the Middle East, that's the thing that's very startling. It's like 4 o'clock in the morning, you wake up like, oh my God, and you hear, Allah, 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 where they call people to prayer. And it's on the loudspeakers. Now you're going to hear it in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, right in the heartland. If Mandani wins, I guarantee you within 5 years, New York City, Manhattan, you will hear the Muslim call to prayer. 850 on the great WRKO, almost 851 now. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, text line is on fire. Fire. Let me just read a really, really good text. It's from, you can text us 70470, 70470. This is from 781. Jeff, what most Americans and frankly most Europeans do not understand is that Islam is a colonialism ideology. The Quran is a manual book for conquering other people's countries. And yet the anti-imperialist left support them. It boggles the mind. You're dead on, 781. Absolutely. You look at the history of Islam going back 1,500 years, okay, since the Prophet Muhammad. A, when has it ever been at peace? B, notice it's been one of continuous expansion throughout the Middle East, throughout Africa, throughout Asia. They went right into the heart of Europe, Spain, Italy, France, Serbia, Albania, Bulgaria, Romania, Croatia, right to the gates of Vienna. Right to the gates of Vienna. So again, it is an imperialist, colonialist ideology. And its ultimate goal, you talk to any Muslim and they will tell you, it's right there in the Quran, is a world governed by the laws of Allah, as they put it. A caliphate. A world Muslim empire. That is, in other words, the final triumph of Islam. So, this idea that Islam is not expansionist, that Islam is a religion of peace, that, you know, all it wants is just to be left alone. Ask the Christians of the Middle East. Ask the Jews of the Middle East. Ask other religious, ask the Kurds. Ask the Yazidis. I could go on and on. So now ask the Europeans. Ask them what life is like now in Muslim predominant spaces or Muslim predominant areas in their cities and increasingly now in large parts of their country. Here, look at Columbia University. They're calling for jihad and death to America and death to the Jews, wearing the keffiyeh and waving the Palestinian Hamas flag. That tells you everything you need to know. And now you're going to elect potentially a mayor who says, quote, globalize the intifada, meaning bring the intifada to the United States. So bring suicide bombings to the United States. Bring October 7th style brutal, heinous attacks, massacres to the United States. And talk about the virtues of Sharia law and the glories of Hamas. And talk about how he refuses to condemn the Holocaust. And how the Jews are the evil of the Middle East and the evil of the world. And this is what New Yorkers, supposed liberal, progressive, quote-unquote New Yorkers are going to vote for? The Democratic Party is now clearly, there's no question, it is now a communist party, it is an anti-American party, it is an anti-Semitic party, and increasingly now, it is a pro-Islamist party. 617-266-6868. Agree, disagree. Casey in Waltham. Thanks for holding, Casey, and welcome.
Long time no talk.
Welcome, Casey.
How you doing, Jeff?
I'm good. How are you, Casey?
Oh, well, you know, it just boggles my mind. We ring the alarm bell, and all these people have been indoctrinated. I mean, Nikita Khrushchev said it in 1959. Reagan said it in the 1980s. Communism will come to this country under the form of liberalism. But yet we indoctrinate our kids. We go through all of this. We have Elizabeth Warrens, the Bernie Sanders, and all the rest of them. My point is, we know that this guy is a communist. And everybody in the U.S. government knows he's a communist. So why is he not stripped of his citizenship and this all goes away? The problem is we ring the alarm bell and nobody gives a crap, but the whole damn country is on fire. And did you notice all the blue cities are in the Northeast, are in California? These are the biggest income bringers going, and it's all being turned into communism, but they call it progressivism. Okay, what is it progressing to? Communism. So why aren't we doing anything? Why do we argue amongst ourselves? We're supposed to do something. Well, who's going to back us? The media? We got Newsmax. That's it. And we've got podcasts. So when are we going to wake up? And isn't it ironic? We take out all these Iranian nuclear facilities, but yet we're arresting the Republican Guard and all these other people that have been coming into this country. Look, Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton, I can go all the way back. This has been a march towards communism, okay? I mean, we can go back to Johnson and the rest of them, okay? They got us fighting amongst ourselves, divided amongst ourselves, but yet they keep going and going and going, and we keep letting this happen. So my whole question is this: when are we going to act like they do and stay together no matter what? Because you got these dingbats, brainless. I mean, they got the brains of a walnut, for heaven's sake, and that's an insult to the walnut, all right? But why is it these people keep moving up? And I won't keep going on. I have to end, but...
No, Casey, look, you've really put your finger on it. And look, Casey, let's leave everything else off the table, okay? Just everything else. One of the centerpieces of his platform, of his campaign, and you can look it up, please, don't take my word for it. He doesn't say even, let's cut funding to the police. Let's reduce funding to the police. No. He wants to, quote unquote, completely defund the police. And he's pressed. And he says, you mean if you defund the police, there's no police? So you want to get rid of the NYPD? Yep. With a straight face. Yep. And replace them with social workers. Because the police, according to him, the police and prisons, he wants to also empty out the prison. So he wants criminals to just be let out. But he says the police and the prisons are one of the main institutions of repression. That's what he calls it. He's a communist. He's a Marxist. Of repression of black, brown, and poor New Yorkers. Now, Casey, what would happen, say, in Waltham if suddenly one day there's no police? That's it. Gone. Just gone. There's no police. And if there's a problem, call a social worker. Now, in Waltham, it would be utter anarchy. If I'm a criminal, I'm like, there's no police. Guys, happy hunting. Let's go. Carjack anything you want, rob anything you want, shoot anybody you want, steal anything you want, break into anybody's home, rape women, molest children. Who's going to stop you? There's no police. What, a social worker's going to stop me? I don't think so. Now, that's insane in Waltham. I'm telling you, it's insane, as I said earlier, in a two-mule town, okay? 15 people in a town. That's also insane. But you're going to do it in New York? In New York City, the largest city in the United States of America? Millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of people live there. And you're basically going to say, yeah, it's lawlessness. Yeah, there's no police. Yeah, no police. Now, I don't believe he's that stupid. I don't. Nobody's that stupid. They're not. I'm telling you, he's not. AOC is stupid, but not that stupid. Bernie's stupid, not that stupid. Mandani is stupid, but not that stupid. It's obvious. They want to destroy New York. Of course they want to destroy New York. They want chaos. They want violence. They want anarchy. They want to so disrupt the social life of a society that they'll be crying out for a police state. They'll be begging for a communist government to save them. The state, the government, to step in, please rescue us, because we're getting shot in our bedrooms. We're being literally raped on the streets. So what he wants to do, this SOB, is he wants to set New York on fire. Now, furthermore, okay, just very quickly, you've got a financial jewel in New York. Forget this, forget the traffic, the congestion, how annoying many New Yorkers can be. I'm talking, forget that. You've got Wall Street, my friend. You've got the wealthiest billionaires, the biggest investors, the biggest financial firms, the biggest law firms. We're talking trillions of dollars in wealth. Trillions with a T. And what does this guy want to do? He wants to wreck it. I'm going to tax them. I'm going to tax them till they cry uncle. I'm going to drive them out of New York. $30 minimum wage, blank you. Everything free, blank you. This is what he said. I'm giving you a direct quote. The sin of the wealthy is that they do not give or share their wealth to other people. We are going to tax them until all of their money is given to the quote-unquote workers. Taxation isn't theft. Capitalism is. That's a direct quote from him. Taxation isn't theft. In other words, the more they keep taxing you, Casey, that's not theft. He takes 50% of your money, 60% of your money, 70, 80, 90% of your money. No. Capitalism is theft. In other words, the fact that you earn money, that's theft. Okay, it's Marxism, it's communism. Now, you're going to put a communist mayor in charge of Wall Street? In charge of New York? Now, I'm sorry. Only an anti-American Islamist who wants to destroy the United States would push for something like this. They attacked New York 25 years ago. 24, to be exact. 3,000 dead. New York, Washington, and Pennsylvania. This is another attack. But it's from the inside. It's stealth jihad. It's a Trojan horse. They're going to conquer New York. And they're going to make it crime-ridden, drug-ridden. They're going to chase all the money out of New York. New York will fall. Islam will have destroyed the very symbol of American capitalism. Why do you think New York was attacked in the first place? And it was the Twin Towers. Why? They wanted to attack the financial, economic symbol of American power. They hit Washington, the political symbol of American power. And the plane in Pennsylvania was probably heading for either the White House or Congress. So they hit the Pentagon, the military symbol of our power. The plane in Pennsylvania was either going to go White House or Congress, the political symbol of our power. But they hit New York. Why New York? They didn't hit Boston. They didn't hit L.A. They didn't hit Chicago. They wanted New York. Why? It's the economic symbol of our economic financial might. Okay? The Statue of Liberty is there. Wall Street is there. The Twin Towers are there. Now you put a Muslim communist in power, and he's going to wreck it. That's like the siege of Vienna 400, 500 years ago. We take Vienna, we take all of the West. We take New York, we take America. Make no mistake about it. You know, the Muslims say this in Great Britain openly. We take London, Great Britain falls. We take Paris, France falls. We take Berlin, Germany falls. Okay? In Canada, we take Toronto, which is the financial hub. It's sort of like Canada's version of New York. Toronto falls. Canada falls. So, you've got a guy who supports Islamic terrorism. You've got a guy who's a communist, a naturalized American citizen born in Uganda, and you can't strip his freaking citizenship? Hey, buddy, you love communism so much. You love Sharia so much. You love radical Islam so much. Go back to Uganda. I'm going to say to him what I said to Ilhan Omar. And remember what she said about 9/11. Some people did something. Like, don't you dare blame Islam or radical Islam for what happened. Basically, you guys had it coming. You Americans had it coming. And she comes from that third world hellhole, Somalia, from a refugee camp. And then she spits on the United States and says we're now one of the worst countries in the world. And my answer to her was, go back to Somalia. This is the gratitude you show to this country? After everything this country's done for you? Now, look, I'm going to say something now very politically incorrect, but it's the truth. It's the truth. It's going to drive the moonbats insane. The usual suspects are going to call the station and email me and, you know, you're a hater, you're Islamophobic, blah, 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 blah. I don't care. Vietnamese immigrants, Japanese immigrants, I don't care. Take your pick. I don't care. I don't care. Take your pick. Irish immigrants, Italian immigrants, Polish immigrants, Jewish immigrants, Croatian immigrants, okay? I don't care. Take your pick. They were grateful. Every single one of them. They were grateful. Some groups, a little more successful than others. That's life. That's okay. Some contribute a little bit more than others, but that's okay. That's life. But very grateful. Every single one of them. I'm sorry. Where's the effing gratitude? Someone's got to ask, where is the effing gratitude? And it's not just in America. Tell me, are the Muslims grateful in France? When Merkel, remember, they're all refugees, supposedly, from Syria. Remember, from the war. And Merkel opened up Germany. Over 1 million Muslim migrants from Syria fled into Germany. Are they grateful? Are they grateful to Deutschland, to Germany? And by the way, to this day, 10 years later, most of them are still on welfare. Okay? But let that go. Do they say, you know, long live Deutschland? No. Death to Deutschland. They don't want to speak German. Sharia law in Deutschland. In Germany. Are they grateful in England? Just interview them. Talk to them on the street. They'll tell you openly. No, we're here to conquer. We're here to take. Now, I'm not saying there aren't individual good Muslims. Of course, that goes without saying. That's like saying the sky is blue. But that's irrelevant. There were many good Germans in Nazi Germany. There were, I'm telling you. They hated Hitler, they hated fascism, they hated Nazism. It doesn't matter. The majority were with Hitler. Just like the majority of them are with radical Islam, or a good chunk of them. And their imams are with radical Islam. And their mosques, most of them are with radical Islam. And their ideology is most of them are with radical Islam. That's a fact. This is incontrovertible now. And we're now going to just let New York City fall? And worst of all, it's being blessed and voted for, voted by, guilt-ridden, white, educated, college-educated liberals who have been indoctrinated and brainwashed to to hate America, to hate our founding, to hate Western civilization, to hate the Jews and hate Israel with every fiber in their being. And so now they look at Mandani and they say he's one of us. The Columbia University, the Harvard University protesters, those anti-Semitic communist zealots, Mamdani's one of them. Sorry, Mamdani, forgive me. Zoran Mamdani is one of them. But now we're giving him the keys to New York City. Now, I'm going to ask a question. I've been asking now for many months, and I always get blowback whenever I ask. But that's okay. If I'm not here to speak the truth, what's the point? Where's Pam Bondi? I see her on Fox. Yep. Where's Pam Bondi? Where's Kash Patel? Where's Dan Bongino? Strip this guy of his citizenship. If it walks like a commie, talks like a commie, acts like a commie, it's a commie. Strip his citizenship. Am I wrong? WRKO, Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. Okay, very, very quick because the lines are jammed. New York City, this is breaking now everywhere in the local media in New York. New York City real estate brokers are now getting flooded with calls from clients looking to back out of deals. You know, they had bought property in New York or made an investment in New York or whatever, bought a home in New York, whatever. They say they want out after the victory by Mandani. Florida real estate agents are now seeing a massive surge in interest from New Yorkers, middle class, upper middle class, wealthy New Yorkers with businesses, saying that after Mamdani's victory, many of them say they're leaving New York City and they're going to relocate to Florida. Others say maybe Texas, but they're leaving New York. So the exodus has already begun. Dan in Florida. Speaking of Florida, thanks for holding, Dan, and welcome.
Jeff, you know, I know you get mad at me because it's all doom and gloom sometimes, but I got to tell you, it's actually over, Jeff. It's over. So, you know, let me play with something for a minute, Jeff. How many children do you have?
2.
So, beautiful children. You adopted them, I know, and I know the story because I've been listening to you since you got to Boston. So, but, Jeff, you do realize that the average Muslim family has 11 children. They're gonna outpopulate us in 2 generations. It's over, and there's nobody talking about that, Jeff. So you know, I do some traveling. I get around. I do some work with a couple of NGOs that put people into apartments in Western Massachusetts, central and Western Massachusetts. I know 2 families that are in, you know, NGO paid apartments. My investors are the owners of the property. But the two of these families, one has 14 children, and I've talked to the father. He wants more. The other one has 11 children. He wants more. How we're getting outpaced, and I saw this, Jeff, about 12 years ago. I was, you know, giving back, not court ordered, but I was giving back to helping out, and I was doing some work with Big Brother, Big Sister in Lawrence. And we held an event, and I talked to 2 of the young ladies, young women that were there, both high school kids, and they were telling me that one of them, they were half sisters, same mother, and they lived together. But one of their fathers had 7 children from 5 different women, and he had run off to Canada to avoid paying child support. The other one had like 11 children from 8 different women, and it was crazy, but he was in jail. So, you know, if you know, and I'm sure you've made the decision, most Americans have made the decision, hey, I can only afford to have 2 kids. I can only afford to have 1 child. If you're not, so this goes back, I don't know, 15, 20 years. We've been paying for people to to have children through the social welfare programs. And
well, Dan, Dan. Sorry, I mean to cut you off. I promise I'll give you all the time you need to finish. But 11 children, 14 children. How do they pay for all these kids? I mean, as you said, I have 2, and I'm telling you, they're expensive. Kids are expensive. They're eating me out of house and home. So how do they afford 11 or 14 kids, Dan?
Well, they certainly don't live in luxury. There's no iPhones, there's no iPads, except for the ones that are given to them by the schools. There's no, there's no luxury. But in both of these instances with these families, the NGOs gave them, they were used cars, but gave them 2 very nice used cars per family. NGOs pay for the rent. They're paying, so the NGOs, obviously, that money's coming flush down from us.
That's incredible. So basically, they're effectively living off welfare then, correct?
Exactly. Of course they are. And good families, are they taking advantage of the system? Yeah, of course, because we pushed it on them.
Dan, if you were advising Trump now, saying, look, you've got Mandani now rising in New York, you've got obviously Ilhan Omar in Minnesota, Rashida Tlaib, AOC, Bernie. I mean, it's, the radical left is on the march. What would you advise Trump to do? Does he got to start deporting all of these Muslim illegals now before it's too late?
Here's the problem, Jeff. A lot of them are here legally. We let them in. We brought them in as refugees from Somalia. We brought them in as refugees from Syria. We brought them in as refugees from Afghanistan and Iraq. They're here legally. These families that I was involved with, they got green cards. You know how hard it is to get a green card, Jeff? They got green cards in
Incredible. No, I know. Look, Dan, we're in a pickle. There's no question about it. And that's why we've got to wake up and we've got to realize the threat now that is within. And they're inside the gates. And really, I look at Mamdani now as the ultimate Trojan horse. They want New York, and they're very close to getting New York. Dan, I always learn something when you call. Dan, thank you very much for that call. 617-266-6868 is the number. Look, I think it's time for us to ask ourselves, do we want our country to come under the control of Sharia law? Do we want parts of our country to come under the control of Sharia law? And, I'm sorry, but I think it's time to have people take a loyalty oath or a loyalty test. You cannot be loyal to Sharia and loyal to the Constitution. You can't. So, to me, if you're not willing to be loyal to the Constitution first and foremost, out. And we've got to stop putting all these people on welfare. Because Dan is right. This thing is killing us. We're paying these people to just, forgive me, have sex, procreate, and have children. And off of our hard-earned taxpayer money, they're having, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 kids. While the rest of us, 2, 3 kids, and we're at our wits' end. More with your calls. Next. On the great WRKO, Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer, cleaning up the liberal bull. Ben in Lynn. Thanks for holding, Ben, and welcome.
Thank you. I'm a native New Yorker. I live now in Lynn. This is just the evolution of Tammany Hall. Back when the Fiorello LaGuardia days, the democratic machine, all the corruption from back in those days. This is just a modern day version of that. And Mandani's just a continuance of de Blasio. He's a continuance of de Blasio.
That's a very good point. Sorry, Ben, please keep going, but that's a really good point. Please keep going, Ben.
The socialist that wanted to destroy New York. Remember when he went off and met with the Sandinistas back when he was young? It's just a continuance. They want to destroy New York. Now that Trump is in office, they want to get into the bigger cities. Why? Because Trump put Elon in office, Elon took care of a lot of fraud that was going on in the federal level with Doge. Now they can't do all of that stuff. They need money. They go into New York where Wall Street is, and there you go. You know, they just want to destroy the country.
Ben, you're completely right. Not 100, as I like to say, but 1,000% correct. And I love the connection you made to de Blasio. You're completely right. He was a communist. He was a fellow traveler. He met with the communist Sandinistas in Nicaragua. Ben, let me just ask you this. The thing that I think is jarring about Mandani, and I want to know if you agree or disagree. You're right. He's in many ways an extension of Tammany Hall, the corrupt democratic machine, correct. De Blasio and his communism, correct. But there's an Islamic twist. There's an anti-Semitic, pro-Hamas, pro-Sharia law, Islamic twist to him that you haven't seen before in New York. And it's him talking about making City Hall Muslim. It's his supporters saying we're going to have Sharia law in New York City in 10 years. It's him saying, he proudly supports Hamas. And, he's very virulently anti-Jewish, anti-Semitic. You haven't had that in New York historically. Ben, would you agree or disagree?
No, we've never had that. But what he fails to see is that New Yorkers still remember 9/11. Yeah, New Yorkers sometimes, you see them go about their day, they go about their business, they just do their day-to-day things, but 9/11 still lives in a lot of New Yorkers' lives and in a lot of Americans' lives. And you could go ahead, fine, you won the Democratic nomination, go ahead. I think Republican Party needs to throw somebody out there. Hey, maybe get Trump Jr., Don Jr., or maybe Eric Trump Jr., somebody along those lines.
Interesting.
Run a native New Yorker, on the other side, on the Republican ticket, and take this guy down.
Ben, you think if they come up with a really good candidate that Mamdani can still be beaten, right?
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Good.
100%.
Good.
Right now, the crime is skyrocketing, after so many years of Giuliani working hard to bring down crime the way it was back in the 80s, the way it was back in the 90s, and then you saw the resurrection of New York City, with Bloomberg, the businesses came back, they started flourishing. And then you got a bozo like de Blasio that comes around, serves 8 years, and then he just destroys everything. Adams doesn't know what he's doing, his left from right. He don't know where he's going. And now you got this guy, Mandani, that nobody's heard of before, talking all this crazy nonsense. It's not going to happen.
Ben, thank you very much for that call. Really good call. Please, Ben, don't be a stranger. Call again. Mr. Garcia, thank you so much for calling, Mr. Garcia, and welcome.
Hey, listen, you are the best. I don't care what Sandy say. You are number one.
Well, thank you, Mr. Garcia.
Now I feel better. Listen, I want to ask you a question. Reverend Al Sharpton going and endorse Adam because he cannot neglect him, right?
Well, no, that's the amazing thing. Mr. Garcia, really good point. No, Sharpton is going with Mamdani. Sharpton has backed Mamdani. Schumer's backing Mamdani. Hakeem Jeffries, the leader of the Democrats in the House, is backing Mamdani. They're all lining up. Bill Clinton is lining up now behind Mamdani. But no, Al Sharpton, you would think Al Sharpton would be supporting Eric Adams, right? He was so proud of the fact that, Adams being an African-American became the mayor of New York. Nope. He's stabbing Adams in the back. He's going with Zoran Mamdani, Mr. Garcia.
Why? It's very disgusting. He's a black man, Adam, and he'd be claiming the black people, right? As a reverend. And also as a pastor. I said, Reverend, come on. How dare he go and endorse Mandani because he's not a Christian? Al Sharpton is a Christian believer, and he's a fake believer, but at least he's preaching the gospel. And why not endorsing Adam? At least Adam had Christian value.
Mr. Garcia, this is going to shock you, but their religion now is communism. Their religion now is far left socialism. It's Marxism. And Mandani now he's their man. This is now a communist party, and you're witnessing the communist takeover, the complete takeover now of the Democratic Party by Bernie Sanders, by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, by Mandani, by all of them. And we're watching now the death of the old establishment Democratic Party. And Sharpton is an opportunist. And he knows where the wind is blowing. And it's no longer Bill Clinton's party. It's Barack Obama's party. That's what you're really seeing now is Barack Obama has completely now, along with Bernie and AOC and the hard left, they've now taken over this party completely. And all those old moderate Democrats or more establishment Democrats or center-left Democrats, they're gone. They're gone. Now, very quickly, there is some resistance in the Democratic Party in New York to Mandani. So Congresswoman Representative Laura Gillen, she is a New York Democrat, and she issued a statement. This is what she said about Mandani after his victory. She said, quote, "Socialist Zoran Mandani is too extreme to lead New York City," she said. "His entire campaign has been built on unachievable promises and higher taxes, which is the last thing New York needs." Now remember, she's a Democrat congresswoman. She continues, "Beyond that, Mr. Mandani has called to defund the police and has demonstrated a deeply disturbing pattern of unacceptable anti-Semitic comments which stoke hate at a time when anti-Semitism is skyrocketing. He is the absolute he's the absolute wrong choice for New York." Now, she's a liberal Democrat. You know anything about, Laura Gillen, believe me, she's no moderate. But here you have a liberal pro-Hillary Clinton Democrat saying Mandani is a hater, he's crazy, and he's too extreme. Ay, ay, ay. Ay, ay, ay. On the great WRKO, Jeff Kuhner, liberalism's worst nightmare, baby. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, super quick. Breaking news now coming from the Department of Homeland Security and from ICE. In the past week alone, just in the past week, obviously in the wake of our decision by Trump to bomb those 3 Iranian nuclear sites, ICE has arrested over 130 illegal alien Iranian nationals. 130 let in under the Biden regime through his wide open border. Many of these Iranian nationals illegally in our country, direct ties to the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, direct ties to Hezbollah. So they are rounding up either terrorists or wannabe terrorists or potential terrorists let in under Biden. No, we don't have a radical Islam problem. No. And New York now is on the verge of electing one as their mayor. Victor in Georgetown. Thanks for holding, Victor, and welcome.
Tuna Man,
Victor.
A pleasure listening to you this morning. Yes, sir. Right here.
Go ahead, Victor. The floor is yours. Yep, I hear you. Can you hear me?
Hey, you're the best, and you and I know we agree philosophically, but I'm going to tell you something. Our strategy is totally different. Let me tell you why. We finally have a Islamic, Muslim, communist foreigner that's going to become the mayor of New York City. We should stand by, move out of the way, let this guy get elected, and let him do the damage that's going to be done, because philosophically, you know that it is going to be devastating for any city that has this type of a leader, especially New York City. And let me explain why. All of Wall Street moving out, these supercilious, stubborn, elitist, I'm talking about New York City now, who have brought this upon themselves, are about to get a load of it, and I mean directly. So let the damage be done, because your well thought out philosophical points are hitting people that are not paying attention. When New York City is burning to the ground because of this guy, San Francisco people are going to be looking around. Chicago people are going to say, what the heck happened? Just like when the towers were brought down by these crazy people. And it takes something to get their attention. You know, good words, logical information is not going to get it done. Let these people suffer what they have elected and brought upon themselves to set as an example for the rest of this country, so that we pay attention and say, Schumer was wrong. Al Sharpton was wrong. Clinton was wrong endorsing this guy. Look at all the power structure behind this guy. They were absolutely out of their mind wrong. That's what we need, Jeff.
Victor, in other words, if New York leftists or New York Democrats, if they want to vote for, you want Zohran Mamdani, then give them Zohran Mamdani. And the country will watch and see what a disaster Democrat rule is, and that will damage the Democrats for generations to come, correct?
Absolutely right. That's the only way to get your message across, because people are watching their iPads, they're watching Netflix, they're watching all this other stuff, but you cannot not look at a train wreck. In New York City, get ready. You got a train wreck coming.
Oh, I agree. Oh, he's going to burn them down. Victor, very interesting point. As always, thank you very much for that call. Okay, let me squeeze at least one more in. John in Weymouth. John, I've got 1 full minute. The floor is yours. Go.
Okay, Jeff, I'm going to be very quick. And you're one of the most honest people on radio. But everyone has to understand something my father told me. After he made millions, after I made millions. Come out of the womb. Welcome to the misery of life. Go home to God. Tell me you did the best you could. I'm finished, Jeff.
Forget the millions, because I haven't made millions, and I doubt I ever will make millions. But I love your philosophy, John. Amen, brother. Do the best you can, and that's all you can do in this world. And that's why I love Trump, and that's why I love Kuhner country, because all we do is give it our best. Okay, on that note, bye-bye.